it's a win. It's a win in December. We won't remember much about how we played in this game, and we'll just look at it in April and May, June and July as a win in December. We did enough to win the game. Probably not overly happy with our play overall, because I think we're capable of a lot more. But with a team that is 4-4 and now 5-4, that has played some very good opponents and has played a very tough schedule, to come away with the win against a team that actually has picked to win their league, we'll take it and we'll enjoy this and till midnight, and then we'll move on, because we've got a difficult schedule ahead of us.
In the first half, just for Chas, how important would you feel for her getting that ball in with some consistency will go for her and for this team?
Well, it's good that Chas was able to, I think she was 7 for 16 in the first half and had 20 in the first half, maybe her best first half performance shooting the ball in her career here at Duquesne. In the second half, they were on her like glue, and she had to become much more of a facilitator, and I think she did a good job with that. We had other people step up in that second half to score the ball, and I think ETSU in particular down the stretch had a couple big shots late in the game that helped us get that victory. And if we can get both of those engines, both of those kids going at the same time, we're really dangerous. But unfortunately, we haven't done that yet this year.
Given the runs and the back and forth, did this game at all have an Atlantic 10 feel down the stretch for you? Just every possession mattered, end of the game, veteran group?
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't thought of it that way. I guess that it felt like that a little bit. I always kind of felt comfortable. Let's rephrase that. I felt a little bit comfortable with our lead when we were at 8 and 10, but we could just never extend it beyond that. And you know, we'll go back and we'll look at the tape and we'll see why that reasoning is. It's a good game for us in terms of being able to get a victory and get a little bit more confidence, for Chas to play well, for ETSU to learn that we need her for the entire game and has to bring energy from the moment that she steps on the floor, to Kadri having success, whether it's against a 5'11" post player or a 6'3" post player. Anytime you go out and play well, it always makes you feel better, and so that's good for her. But we've got to do a lot better.
In the first quarter, you guys shot, 9 threes and 5 twos. Is it just that was what was open, just open shots, green light, or was there more to that?
You know, we had a situation where we had a lot of open looks from the three-point line. We also missed passing into the post on a couple different occasions, and I rode our guards a little bit in the second quarter and at halftime about if we saw the numbers of our post players, we had to have a post feed, and we have to do a better job of feeding the post. But then again, when we do feed the post, we've got to have success. You know, we've got to be 50% from the field. When we're shooting the threes like we shot them today, you've got to be 50% from the field when you're down there catching the ball on the block, and we can't settle for jumpers or off-balance hooks and getting pushed off the lane. We've got to be better at anchoring down and getting low block position where we're not getting pushed off, and then scoring the ball. And so there's a combination of things there where we haven't had a game where we really have established a post position for an entire game, for an entire half. And you know, some of that is the weight room, and some of that is just will and not accepting getting pushed, and we're not there yet.
How problematic is that on a mid-December, and does that go back to what you said a few days ago about being a nasty team?
Oh, it's problematic. Yeah, it's a problem, and yeah, that's why I'm not all happy and giggles here. It's a problem. If we can't develop a nastiness on both ends of the floor, we're not going to achieve our goals. I thought Libby's take to the rim tonight and drew that contact late in the game was exceptional, and that's what I'm talking about, nastiness there. The way ETSU came off the screen late and missed a three, but cut hard. That's the nastiness and the toughness that we're looking for. And I'm searching for answers. I'm searching for kids to play at 100% and not on cruise control. I still feel like we have a little bit of cruise control in us. We're getting better at it. We're getting better at playing harder, but we're not a finished product.
What do you mean by that? Do you mean that there's maybe the veterans expecting things mentally, physically on the court based on past performance or what they expect, or is there...
They're not playing hard enough. Libby Basilak plays really hard. Paige Cannon plays really hard. You know, I mean, they give you 100% of what they have. Others, they hold a little bit back. They got a little bit in reserve, whether it's for the offensive end or for later in the game, and that can't be. And we've got to get that out of them and make them clearly understand that. And I talked about that in the locker room. This is a very challenging team to coach. Really good kids, but it's a challenge. You know, that they understand that they have to play at 100% because last year they could float a little bit because we didn't have reserves. This year you have Libby Basilak and you have Amanda Kalin and you have Connor Richardson now back, and they can come in and give you quality minutes. So there's no reason to hold anything back in the tank for later in the game. They've got to go 100% all the time. And you know, as a coach, I've got to do a better job of looking at what our best combinations are, looking at can we extend minutes of people who may be tired but are playing well. You know, we're a work in progress, and I know that's a cliche line, but I've never been a part of a team at Duquesne where we've been, or that I can remember in recent times, where we've been this much of a work in progress at this point. And in some ways, that's not a bad thing. You learn a lot about yourself, and hopefully that'll continue to trend upwards.
When you measure a 5 that's on the floor, how much do you maybe value that loyalty or consistency versus riding that hot hand, and what goes into that decision for you?
I would call it historical data and stats. You know what Chas and Utah have given you in the past, and Kadri and Connor Richardson. So you know, you take that into account a little bit. As the season goes on, that becomes lesser, and it's more, what have you done for me over the last 5 games? What have you done over the last 3 practices? What'd you do in the first quarter? What'd you do in the second quarter? And all of those calculations are going through your head as a head coach. And then you have your assistants who are telling you their opinion, and then you're asking for their opinion in some cases. So there's a lot of decisions that are being made on that bench about who and when and what lineups are best. And when you're in the heat of a game, the fog of war, so to say, you have an idea based on your graduate assistant being able to tell you who your best 5 is, but you know, they can't tell you who your best 5 is going forward. They can only tell you what's in the past. And so sometimes you have to make an educated guess, and sometimes you know your educated guess or educated decision is not correct, and sometimes it looks really good.
Timeout wise, was there a temptation? I don't believe you used any timeouts today. Was there a temptation where could have, would have, should have at any point in kind of this kind of back and forth game to use one?
When Paige got the loose ball in front of our bench and was trying to clear it after an offensive rebound, I was going to call a timeout there, but I thought she was fouled, and we went to the other end. There was one other point where I tried to call a timeout, but it was a loose ball situation and they didn't give it to me, and that was a correct call by the official. You know, I think the kids made a lot of good decisions on their own and a few bad ones. I mean, we had 16 turnovers, which is too many, but a fair amount of those were in the first half where the press made us look a little awkward, and then we kind of figured things out after the first quarter.
I know better than to ask you about the next opponent at this point, but I will ask you that it's a 2-day tournament coming up, and you just had one of those earlier in the year. What do you physically, mentally learn from that to apply to the weekend that's coming up?
What happens in this event is it allows you to play back-to-back against 2 very good opponents, and you have to learn how to prepare or get back into that routine of preparing after playing a really tough, rugged opponent the first day and turning around and playing less than 24 hours later. It's like the Atlantic 10 tournament. And so it's good for any college team that does this. For us, having the opportunity to play Syracuse on a neutral floor is fantastic. I think Hugh does an incredible job there. I think he's a great basketball coach, he and his staff. And our kids are very familiar with their kids. They have a lot of international players, as do we, and they've played against each other in the European Championships going back a number of years. And so, we're looking forward to that game. It'll be a good test for us, and also from an RPI perspective, it's a great game because I think right now they're 12th or 13th in the country, something like that. And then we'll follow that up the next day with a Liberty team that has won. Before they left the Big South, I think they won 11 straight Big South titles. They're struggling a little bit this year, but Kerry Green is a great coach, and he'll have them prepared. It's a tough second game. It's not a team that's going to out-athlete you, but they're smart and they're really well coached, and so that's going to make it for two difficult opponents for us down in St. Petersburg. Thank you for supporting women's basketball.